episode, we're gonna deep dive on drums, and by the end of the episode, we'll have a whole drum loop. In this video, since it's a masterclass, I'm gonna make sure I show you how I would synthesize kicks and snares and all that. So to get started, let's just create a bunch of drum samples, so then we kind of have a folder of drums to work with. I'm gonna start with just an audio track and a MIDI track. And then right now there's nothing on the master. So let's start with putting a limiter on the master. I always produce actually with a Pro L on the master, just with the factory setting. And then we could also put a utility so that we can check our mix in mono whenever we want. And then I also like this Master X preset I made, just to check levels of our low end and some other elements, which I'll explain as we write our track. I like to use kick 2 to make kicks. Just draw in a MIDI note. So the initial kick sounds like this. And in kick 2, we have right here is our pitch envelope. So a kick is basically just a pitching down sine wave. So this is the shape of that pitch going down. And then we have an amplitude module. This is basically the shape of the volume of the kick. And then we have these envelopes which control the fades of these guys over here. So then on top of this pitching down sine wave, we have a click. And then we have the ability to add 2 other additional samples on top of that. So with a kick, our main elements are going to be the pitching down sine wave, a click, and some type of high-end, maybe like a hat or something, kind of laying on top of the pitching down sine wave. So first, let's just find a good shape. There's no secret here, really. It's all about using your ears. Just trust your ears with this order. Want it to end on the same note. That sounds pretty good. Kind of like that. So then let's go ahead. Let's high pass this click a little bit. And then let's layer it with a hat. Oh yeah. Kind of like that one. So then we could go ahead, we have some other additional controls and effects down here, so we could add some distortion. Probably too much. We could do some compression. With a kick, we're going to want a slow attack to kind of let the beginning of the kick go through, and then we'll have a pretty fast release and a medium ratio. So we're kind of letting that transient through, then compressing the rest of the sound. And this is going to help tie together all 3 of these samples. All right, that sounds pretty good to me. We could go ahead and do some extra post-processing ourselves. Maybe give it a high-end boost. And then this is when I'll start checking Master X. With a kick, I want it hitting as close to this 0 as possible without sounding bad. just that fundamental of the kick. So this could probably be a little bit louder. Let's try some processing on it, like a drum bus maybe. Oh yeah. That sounds pretty good. Let's go ahead and print this out. So I can take this audio channel and select the input from kick 2, and then we will arm the channel by hitting this little dot right here, and then we'll record. So now we have our kick. So I think we could kind of fade this and tighten it up a little bit. Yeah, it's a pretty good kick. So let's go ahead, and whenever I'm sound designing like this, I like to try to pump out a bunch of samples, so then we have options. So we could just go ahead and make a bunch of variations of this kick and keep resampling them. Try different clicks. Ooh. It's kind of nice. Go ahead and shape that. Then let's try a different hat. That sounds pretty good. Let's just do one more, and then I'll go ahead and make some kicks with operator. Yeah, I like that. I'm trying to get more of that kind of knock. That sounds pretty good. Let's try some new hats. Kind of like that. Maybe not. Ooh, there we go. Maybe there's like a tambourine or something that would sound much better. No, we'll just find a hat. One of those hats sounded pretty clean. There we go. That one's pretty good. Okay. So let's go ahead and do the same thing with operator. So let's just make this a single sine wave, and we'll go ahead and turn the pitch envelope on. And we're just gonna want it pitching down. Let's also put this on fixed, so that no matter what note we're hitting, it's just playing a certain frequency, as you can see, which is similar to what kick 2 was doing. Doesn't matter what note you're hitting, all the pitch is controlled within the synth. So we probably want this to end around like 70 maybe. And then we'll put the peak way up, make the decay shorter. So now you could hear we're getting that like click. Now we just need to shape it. Probably something like this. So messing with this pitch envelope, the shape with like the decay, attack, and release and all that, that's gonna be like in kick 2 where we were drawing that pitch envelope shape. You just have a little bit less control with operator compared to kick 2. So then we'll go ahead and group operator, and this will be the sine wave. And then let's create another chain, and this is going to be our click. So let's take operator again, and we're going to change this to noise, and we're going to make basically just a transient. Let's solo this. Something really short like that. EQ it. Make it a little longer. We could just give it some decay and make it basically like a hi-hat. And then let's also go back into the sine wave here, because it's sounding a little wonky. It's not sounding very kick-like. Let's go into the shaper and try some distortion. There we go. Go back to the pitch envelope. Let's go back to the regular envelope. It's a little bit better. See, it's a little bit harder to make the kicks in operator. Kick 2 makes it so easy. Give this. And put a drum bus on it. So then, if we glue compress all this together super hard, we could get something interesting. So with the Ableton glue compressor on drums, I like to do slow attack, fast release, high ratio. And then we could do something crazy like this. Sounding a little too much like a bass. There we go. We're getting there. And actually, let's turn fixed off. And let's go ahead and put this in a bass note range so that we have like basically a perfect pitch. Actually, no. That's not going to work the way I want it to. So let's go ahead and turn fixed back on. We could We could just change the frequency and kind of tune the kick with our ears to what we like. I kind of like 70. Let's open up the filter a little more. Let's check out Master X. So yeah, this is clipping a little too much for my taste. So let's turn down the makeup gain. Let's keep messing with the shape. Here we go. I think the pitch envelope should be changed a little bit. Okay, that sounds pretty good. Let's resample that. Then we can make a couple variations. As you can see, kick 2 is much better. So if you want to make your own kicks, get kick 2. Oops. One more. Oh, that's kind of cool. Sounds like a bass sound almost. Let's go ahead and resample that too. So that's something worth noting. I think a lot of times during these sound design sessions, you'll come across new things. So I think it's important to do these sessions because you'll create sounds and things you maybe wouldn't find in your library or wouldn't make normally while just writing a song. So it's really good to experiment and deep dive like this. Oh yeah. That's kind of cool. Let's put those over here. Let's make a new channel for those and call it Weird Sounds. We'll just put a bunch of extra stuff down there as we go. Let's make it black. Just put it to the side like that. Okay, so we have a few kicks to work with. And then let's go ahead and make some snares now. So a snare, we could go ahead and use Serum. It's going to be 3 main parts of a snare. It's going to be our fundamental, and then we're going to have a clap layer, and then we're also going to have like a noise tail. Basically the 3 ways you can break it down. Let's go ahead and do Serum. And we'll draw a shape like this. Put it on envelope mode. And then we're also going to want to turn BPM off so we can have a free range on our LFO speed. And all we want here is just a short little, it's like a donk. Just a short little dunk. So usually if you take like a sine wave, or I like a triangle wave for this. And let's take Master X again. And with snares, I like my fundamental to be hitting like close to this -6. So we could go ahead and use distortion to drive this. So now it's close to that -6. Okay. And then if we put something like, let's saturate it even more. Probably don't need all those harmonics. I don't want this to be too D sharp. So we have something short like that. So let's group all this. And this is going to be our fundamental. And then we'll make another chain, and this will be our clap. We could use Serum to make our clap too. Serum is awesome for claps. So claps are actually really fun to make too in Serum. So let me show you how to do that. So let's solo this clap layer. Let's turn on the noise, and we'll go ahead and use bright white. And then again, turn BPM off. We want this free range on our speed, so we can really get surgical with it. And then draw a shape like this. Something like that could work. Apply this LFO to the volume and put it on envelope. So you can already hear like that kind of clap shape or sound. But what we're going to want to do to make it sound more clappy is boosting around the 1K area. So if we put this same LFO on the gain, put this around 1K and turn the resonance down. Now, wherever this frequency is going to really affect the character of the clap. And that just sounds so good already. So let's put a little bit of reverb on it just to give it some space. And then we could do some multiband compression. I like the multiband compression preset. Just really clean. Tends to tie sounds together really well. So now let's hear this with the fundamental. So I'm not really liking this fundamental that much. Let's go ahead and let's fix this up a little bit. I think it might... There we go. It just needs to be a little bit higher up, I think. Here we go. So I'm just changing around the semitones to find like a pitch that I like. Let's give it a little more decay. There we go. And then let's put a glue compressor on it, because as you can see, the peak is getting pretty out of control. So if we soft clip this and turn down the threshold just a little bit, bringing it down, and let's kind of tame some of these harmonics more too. Okay, so those sound pretty good. And now we need like a noise tail. So let's create another chain. And we'll call this one tail. And for this, we could use operator. And let's just change this to noise. and draw a shape like this. And let's put a reverb on this as well, but let's give it a little bit of a longer decay. Okay, that sounds pretty good. And then to tie all these together, we could do my group processing rack. We could try some of the stuff on here. It's sounding pretty good. Let's do an EQ before and kind of shape this a little bit more. Probably roll off the highs. I still don't think I like the fundamental. Let's keep messing with it. That's kind of cool. Ooh, that sounds pretty clean. Make the tail a little shorter. Let's make the clap a little tighter. Let's get something real tight here. That sounds pretty nice. I actually really like that. So let's go ahead and add another thing to the master that I like to have on here. It's called span. And then I'm pretty sure span's free, so definitely get this. We're going to go to this routing and we're going to change it to mid-side stereo. And then we're going to change the underlay to side. And I like to use this to check overall mixdown, like the frequency spread. But in this case, I'm using it to check out the stereo image of our sound. So as you can see, only our like clap and noise seem to have stereo. This light colored green right here represents our stereo signal, which is basically the difference between the left and right speaker. So instead of playing the same thing in both left and right, it's slightly different. So it causes this effect that makes it kind of sound like a certain sound is in a space. That's what like reverb and delay and all those stereo effects are doing, chorus as well. But as we can see, our fundamental doesn't have any stereo on it. So let's tie this whole sound together and add some stereo. So we could just use like a chorus. Could put it on ensemble mode and let's maybe put it at like 20%. Let's turn the warmth up. Now we can see our fundamental is getting some stereo on it, but not really the amount I would like. So let's get a little bit more intense with this. Let's create a parallel chain. And this one is going to be chorus. And we're going to put it at 100% wet. And then this one's going to be dry. And then let's put an EQ on this one so we can kind of control what's going on here. I think that sounds pretty good. Just turn it down a few dB. Just doing it in parallel like this tends to be a lot cleaner because then we have this dry signal still coming through. And then we could also boost the sides with this group processing rack that I have. Yeah, I think that's good. Let's go ahead and print that out. Oh, whoops. So now we have a nice little snare. Let's make a few variations. That sounds nice. Let's mess with the tail. That sounds nice. And actually, that's good. Let's move on to some hats. So with hats, we could go ahead and record some stuff. I got this guy. So we could record some of that. But you could also, well, here, let's just record some real quick, and then we'll go ahead and I'll show you a bunch of different techniques. We could use all sorts of things to record drums and perks. Like I could use my notebook, stuff like that, recording just a bunch of short hits, and then we could have a bunch of those and combine them and turn them into nice hat samples and percussion samples. So let's go ahead. I'm gonna activate my mic for Ableton. Testing, testing. I think that should be it. So we'll go ahead and put a limiter on here just to prevent any clipping. And then I'm just going to go ahead and record a bunch of different sounds. Hey, 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 yo. Okay, that should be enough to work with. Let's go ahead and listen to what we got. Okay, so I'm going to take a separate audio channel, and as I'm listening through, I'm going to take the ones I like and drag them down. Those are all good. That one's a little messy. Those are all good. These are cool. And these can all be layered with the drums we already made too, which some of those drums we made aren't the best, so we're probably going to have to layer them up or replace them later on. Hey, hey, yo. We have some cool... Let's go put this in the weird samples thing down here. These claps are pretty good. Let's just take a few of those. And these are good for layering too. Okay. Okay, so before going into turning these all into hi-hats, let's go ahead and start writing a little bit of a drum pattern and get a little organized here. Because we have most of what we need to get started. So I'm going to make a new group. I'm going to call this drums. Let's call this one kick. Let's go listen to the kicks we made and see which one we like the most. I think this one's my favorite. So let's go ahead and drag this guy in. And then let's get snare. Yeah, this is definitely the one, this guy right here. Okay, and then let's just get a basic quarter note hi-hat going. So let's go ahead and find one of these, probably one of these tambourine hits. I think I like that one, so we'll go ahead and copy this guy. And just for any beginners, when I highlight and copy things, I'm just highlighting and doing Command C, and then we could bring it down here and do Command V. I'll try to remember to explain my keyboard shortcuts as I go, but I might forget some. Okay, cool. So this is how I like to start most of my drum loops. I like to just have a basic kick snare on the 1 and the 3 and a basic quarter note going. And obviously this is really boring, so we're going to want to make it more interesting. But I like to start simple and just make things more interesting from there. I think it's a good way to start things. So let's go ahead and move all these samples out of our way. Take all these too. I'll organize the project in my own time. I don't want to waste time on here exporting a bunch of files and stuff. So we'll just move all that to the side for now. And now we have to think about what BPM we want to do. I'm thinking we should do like some 90 BPM stuff. So in that case, let's make sure warping is turned off for all of our samples, because we don't want these warping at all. We want them to just be the original samples. And then same with all these hats. Let's turn warping off. Okay, so yeah, I'm feeling that vibe a lot more. So let's we put our snare on the 0.2 and the 0.4 and the kick on the 1. And then we have our basic quarter note going. Okay, so we start with something like that, and let's go ahead and just place kicks in different offbeat positions. Just follow your ear, keep it simple. Think about what would make you want to dance, because we are making dance music. Boom. So probably put one right here. Boom, boom. And then keeping in mind call and response, even when writing your drums. So this single offbeat kick is kind of like a call, and this double offbeat kick is kind of like a response. I don't know if I like that too much. Let's try this. Yeah. Okay, and then a cool way to make your drums a little bit more interesting is pressing this little D down here and delaying the hi-hats a little bit. All this is doing is shifting the samples left or right. Up being right, down being left, or forward in time versus backwards in time. So if we put these just a little bit off the grid, adds like a little bit more swagger to it. Ooh, it's kind of cool to let that extra stuff through. Okay. So then now we're going to go ahead and start using some samples. This is one of my favorite techniques to make a drum loop more interesting, and that is finding some type of break or perk loop and manipulating it in audio and stretching it and adding it to our drum beat to add some extra groove and extra flavor to it. So let's go ahead and just type in break. And what I'm looking for is something with nice high end, nice perks going on that I like. That's actually really sick. Let's try this one. I'll go ahead and cut out the low end. Then let's mess around, just stretch it. Ooh, I kind of like that. And if we put it on beats mode and put the transients forward and bring this down, we could tighten it up. Ooh, that sounds pretty cool. Oh. I think something like this. Yeah. So let's put maybe some multi-band compression on this, kind of tie everything together. More EQ. Let's roll off the highs just a tad. Let's pan it right a little bit maybe. Let's do a Blue Compressor Catch Peaks preset, because I feel like this is a little too clicky for my taste. So that should help. Okay, that's sounding pretty cool. So let's go ahead and find a crash sample for the downbeat. Sometimes acoustic is better for this. Let's try that guy. We could just do the classic technique of reversing this crash. And then we should probably have some type of fill going on down here with our kicks. pretty good. And then I also like to get like an open ride sample. We could put that every like 2 to 4 bars. Maybe right there. I like to just put it at the end of phrases. Let's go ahead and let's take some more of these hat samples and make our own percussion a little bit more interesting and dynamic. So let's turn warping off on all these. As you can hear, they warped, so that's why they sounded so weird. Let's just take one of them. Since it's one long recording, we could just sweep around through the sample. And here's a good keyboard shortcut. So say we have this big sample right here with a bunch of other samples in there. We can do Shift, Alt, and click and drag and just sweep through the sample until we find something we like. Something like that. Okay, those are pretty good. And then the next thing I would do is take my group processing rack and we'll go ahead and apply some of the glue, some of the drive and drum bus. Just kind of tie all the samples together in here. So as you can see, our hats are looking really harsh. And you can kind of hear that too. So let's go ahead and fix those. Let's take ours and group them. And let's take Soothe and put it on the high end. And I'm going to put this on hard. And we're also going to put this quality on ultra. So now you can see the tamed it a little bit. Probably still a little too much for my liking. So we could just take an EQ and something like this. And then let's also go ahead and add some stereo to this. Okay. And then I think this can also benefit from another sample. So let's take one of my hi-hat samples. I think I kind of like that one. And then let's add like little rolls with this to make it a little bit more of an interesting groove, so we're not just doing quarter notes. We could change the pitch of it maybe. pretty good. Okay, that's pretty good. So I think that's a decent drum loop to start. We'll probably change it as we write more of the song, but I think that's pretty good for episode 1. I'll give you guys this project file and all the samples we made as well. As usual, I hope that was helpful, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.